Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Really excited to be here. We are going to have an exciting conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can transform your RIA with Microsoft powered AI and automation. Please feel free to let me know if you have any issues with seeing the chat or if you have any issues with seeing the slides as well too. You should have access to both, and so just let me know if you don't. A little bit about me. My name is Dalil Allison, CEO, co-founder of RIAs. I've been in the technology space for over a decade now. I have experience working across a variety of roles, from project manager to systems analyst to delivery management. My role today at RIAs is more front-facing, so I work directly with our clients to help unpack and understand what it is that they're looking to accomplish and start to ideate around what solutions will help them be able to solve those business challenges and be as efficient as possible. We specialize in working with RIAs, which is why you're here today. So a lot of the work that we have done in the past is tailored to registered investment advisory firms. So our delivery team is very experienced with the different nuances, the processes, as well as the technologies that you guys use. I'm more of a relationship guy, so if you were to work with us, and some of you on the call may have worked with us already, you typically are involved on monthly meetings with me where I sit down, just make sure we're providing the best type of service that we can, and to ensure that if there's anything else we could help support you as it relates to your business challenges and goals, we certainly do that. The other thing I'd recommend you drop in the chat, I'm a huge coffee shop enthusiast. I love to try out new coffee shops. I actually used to run a coffee shop meetup group when I lived in the city of Chicago, and we used to be on the mission to try all the local coffee shops that we could in the city. Very fun endeavor that I did for a few years. And then COVID kind of put a pause on that, and I have since relocated outside of Chicago, and I'm located in Charlottesville, Virginia today. But if you have any coffee shops, feel free to share them with me. Would love to know about them. And we got people calling in from all over, and so I've been to a lot of these places as well too, so I'm sure there's some coffee shops that I haven't checked out. Today's agenda, going to cover a lot. I do have room baked in for Q&A. So as I mentioned, we definitely want to utilize the Q&A feature in the chat, the Q&A functionality within the webinar platform. So if you look at the top of the ribbon, you'll see an icon there that says Q&A. If you click on that, you'll be able to submit any questions to me. Only I will be able to see those, and then I can process those in real time. And if it's easier for you, feel free to drop your questions, comments, or chats in the chat as well too, and I'll be moderating it throughout this webinar. Packed house today, so the agenda, we're going to cover a lot of different things. Before we jump right into the AI and automation and real world examples, we're going to start with common challenges that we see RIAs face just through the work that we've done. This presentation is focused around Microsoft solutions directly, and so we're going to spend some time unpacking and talking through the Microsoft ecosystem, and then certainly I'll share with you practical and actual examples of AI and automation solutions that you could leverage, and then we'll kind of tie it all together with some more customer success stories. So these are built out solutions that we've rolled out for clients and have implemented and are seeing good results as a outcome of being able to develop those solutions for them. So before we jump right in, as I mentioned, let's make this interactive if we can. I know I'm talking into the screen, but would love any questions, thoughts as I'm going through any of the slides. You'll notice that the slides in this color represent action that I'll be requesting from you guys. So I have questions that are baked throughout this presentation. So anytime you see a slide this color, I'm going to be requesting some feedback from you guys to poll you and get some insight, and then tailor that to some of the subsequent slides that I present on. So with that said, hopefully you're paying attention. Keep your eye on the screen. If you see this color slide, you know it's a question that's coming up, and I'll be looking for some participation as a result of that. So first question before we get started is, what is the biggest thing holding you back from operating more efficiently? So if you just want to throw a response in the chat, so A for knowledge and time, B for disconnected systems, C for not fully utilizing current tools, or D for other. And if it's other, please specify what that would be. Okay, knowledge and time, disconnected systems. Oh, someone put A, B, and C. I should have a select all option. That's a good call. Be concerned about privacy and confidentiality. All the above. Okay. Got some B's coming in. Awesome. That's really good insight. I see some compliance ones. That's a good call out. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well too. Looks like it's across the board between all of them. And I love all the above responses that some of the people had given me as well too. So appreciate you getting interactive with me on the first question. As I said, there'll be more slides this color where I'll be asking for your feedback along the way. So let's jump right in. Before we even talk about technology, our philosophy at Rooks is very big on process first, technology second. We always say, yes, the technology is a tool to help you run more efficiently, but unless you're a tech company or own a product that's technology based, then the technology enables your firm to operate more efficiently. And so with that said, one of the common things that we see is a lot of times what's called shiny object syndrome is, hey, there's this cool new tool that's out there that I want to be able to use, and it's magically going to solve my problem. That's not necessarily the case, and the reason that I want to call that out is because a lot of times we get clients that may be frustrated with some of the technology that they have or have started to implement, and what we see sometimes, and more often than not, it could be a result of a process related issue. So it may be something that's procedural by nature, or the steps that you have to be able to execute a task doesn't flow properly, or there's friction in terms of the handoff from one process to the other. So this is a really good slide that outlines the 4 major core processes we see across all financial advisory firms, and it kind of groups it based off high level activities. There's certainly a lot more that's baked within each of these processes, but these are the core 4 with some high level things that we commonly see. So first and foremost, intake. So I'm a client, I reach out saying, hi, financial advisory firm, I'm interested in learning more about your services. That would then trigger the client intake process. I provide an inquiry requesting more information about your services. You as the firm are certainly collecting basic information from me, trying to get a meeting scheduled, things of that nature. And then from there, we have our amazing introductory call, and it's a good fit. So now I'm interested in signing up for your services. That's what triggers the onboarding process. So once the client signs a contract, then a series of things have to happen. You have to set up the client in other systems. You're collecting a lot more detailed information. You want to start delegating tasks to the team. So if you're the advisor, you certainly want to start getting your support team involved to delegate those tasks out. But that kicks off a series of things that need to happen. And then from there, once the client has been onboarded, it's where the bulk of the work is probably spent, is in box number 3. So that's the management. That's meeting with your clients on a quarterly basis or whatever your frequency is, collecting more information with them, doing the check-in meetings, being able to report out any updates from your end. So that's where a lot of back and forth happens with the client. And then the last core process that we see is offboarding. This one tends to get overlooked, but it's a very important piece. I know a couple people had talked about confidentiality, compliance, and things of that nature. The offboarding piece is a critical component of that, because you want to put a bow on that specific client file, as we call it. So you want to do your appropriate archiving of documents. You also want to think about, hey, does someone have access to these files that they no longer should internally? And you just want to make sure you're tying the knots on everything that's required to kind of seal that client file down, so things aren't being worked on it after the fact. So I say all that to say, process is a very important piece. And once you kind of think through and have your processes outlined, that's where you can come in and ask the question of, hey, this seems to be done inefficiently. I'm copy and pasting data from one system to another. I know there's a great way to be able to do this more efficiently, and I know technology can help me do that. So that's where we can start really having some meaningful conversations of, oh, in your intake to onboarding process, you don't have a workflow that automatically takes the data from your calendar scheduling tool and puts it systematically into the CRM. So things like that we can start unpacking to find where you can get the most value in terms of automation and technology that will help you run more efficiently. So what's really holding you back? That's the major question, right? And I appreciate your responses, and they align with these. So these are the major three things that we see when we work with firms that tend to be the most obvious and common themes that we see. First and foremost, knowledge and time. So you don't have the bandwidth, or you don't have an internal IT team that's dedicated to be able to explore new tools, to be able to think proactively of, hey, we've had some of this technology already set up. Is it really meeting our needs? Or even exploring, hey, I realize that the operations team is spending too much time onboarding processes. What does that look like? And let me dig my teeth deep into that to be able to come up with a sense of direction of what a solution could actually look like. Obviously, you're financial advisors, so your expertise isn't around how people manage their relationship with money and be able to do investments. It's no different on the technology side. Being able to have that skill set and expertise and knowledge of time is built over years. And the big thing with technology is it's rapidly evolving. So I'll talk about AI a little bit later, but now with the release of AI and all the AI solutions that are hitting the market, it's so hard to keep up with all of the moving pieces related to it. The second big thing that we see is disconnected systems. So data lives everywhere. So you have data in your email, you have an Excel document somewhere, you have a SharePoint site somewhere, you have a folder on your computer. So what we see is all these disconnected systems causes data to be scattered, and it causes a lot of inefficiencies, because when you're going to go look for a specific item for a file for a client, you have to go and track that down. And if there's no integration of data being able to flow seamlessly from one system to another, then it makes it very difficult for you to run efficiently, because either A, the data doesn't get in to the ideal location, so it lives in one system but not the other that you really need it to live in, and that causes a lot of friction, because now you're having to toggle back and forth between all these disparate systems to be able to group together a lot of different data points that you could possibly have all seamlessly connect and flow from one to the other through integrations. And then the last one that we see, everyone certainly has a technology stack or a list of technologies that you're using today across your firm. The one thing that we see specifically around the Microsoft solution is it's overlooked. So it's underutilized, not being leveraged as much as it could, nor is it being leveraged to expand upon things. So whenever we talk AI or even automation, it's all around having a solid foundation and then building on top of that. And one of the things that we see works tremendously well is if you're already on the Microsoft stack, you have a lot of powerful tools out of the box. It's just a matter of understanding what those tools can do and being able to put them into action. So one, for example, is Microsoft Teams. We do a lot of work with educating our clients on, hey, how can you leverage Teams? What are the best practices? How does it work from a communication standpoint, collaboration, document repository, things of that nature. And so what we see is just an underutilized tool. And the other thing to call out, and why I have it notated as overlooked ROI, is a lot of the larger companies are on Microsoft and they're leveraging these Microsoft tools, and that works. We're a small business as well too. That works to our advantage because it gives us access to powerful things that we know a lot of the big companies are invested and investing into, which means it's only going to continue to evolve in terms of features and functionalities, which ultimately helps increase efficiency across the firm. So when we talk about the Microsoft ecosystem, this is an amazing slide. So this is just a fraction of all of the applications that are out within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem and beyond. So you can see here, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a Microsoft 365 license, the traditional tools that people use day in and day out, obviously, is email, Outlook for email. You have Teams for chat communication and collaboration. There's document repository with SharePoint, meeting recordings with Stream, so you can do a meeting recording, or you can record a training video leveraging Microsoft Teams, for example. Obviously, the big ones are PowerPoint, Word, Excel, which are the traditional applications that a lot of people use. You also get the OneDrive syncing functionality. And then within that, you can add on all these different applications. So you can see in this screenshot here, it talks about Power BI. So if we want it to aggregate data from multiple systems and generate a report based off of that, we can add on Microsoft Power BI, or we talk about Power Automate, which I'll mention a little bit later. But you can see here, this is only a fraction of the tools that live in the Microsoft ecosystem. And the nice thing about this, and the way that I kind of put together an analogy, is the way to think about Microsoft is you own an awesome mansion, and everyone wants to own an awesome mansion. And with any good mansion has a variety of rooms. And so all these different applications are just different rooms that you have within your beautiful mansion. So it's just a matter of understanding, A, you have access to those rooms, and B, how can you leverage those rooms to allow you to get the output, to get the results, to deliver the value that you're ultimately hoping to give to your clients and your business as a whole. So out of this screenshot, you could feel free to share if you're using all of these tools. Feel free to drop any thoughts or comments in the chat as well too. As I mentioned earlier, so I want to spend a little bit time talking about Microsoft Teams. That's a big one because we've seen over time that Teams is kind of viewed upon as just a virtual meeting platform. So, hey, whenever I say, hey, are you using Teams? People always a lot of times respond back as, no, I'm on Zoom, or yes, I'm using Teams for meetings. Teams is so much more beyond that. Yes, it does virtual meetings. Yes, you can do both internal and external meetings with Teams, but you can also, as I mentioned earlier, do the chat communication across team members. So if I wanted to direct message someone, I can certainly do that. The other nice thing is you're able to create what's known as a team, and then within the team you're able to create channels. So sometimes what we see is clients will have an operations team, and under that operations team they'll have certain channels associated with it. They may have a general one, they may have a communications one, they might have an SOP one, so on and so forth, and that's able to centralize data based off of how you categorize it across your organization to one location. So in my example of the operations team, let's assume that you have a new hire and you add them to the operations team, and your SOPs live in that operations team, then you could add them into the SOP channel within that team, and they'll be able to easily access the SOPs associated with your firm. And that makes it easier because then they know, hey, anytime I'm looking for an SOP related to this, I just go to that specific channel and I'm able to get the information that I need. It goes the same for clients. So obviously some of our clients will have a client team, and then each channel underneath that team is a client. An alternative would be you have one channel called clients, and you have folders for each of your clients. So depending on how you want to slice and dice it across your firm, you have the flexibility to do that. But the most important thing that allows you to do is know, hey, where are all my documents associated with my client? Okay, easily I can just go into the team channel, access those files, and not have to click between all these different applications. The other thing that it can do as well too, for the chat communication, which we'll talk about later, is you can start adding automation to it. So for example, let's assume I'm a new client and I sign up with your firm. Then once that DocuSign or whatever e-signature platform you're using to execute the contract, once that's fully completed, we could have a workflow automatically send a message notification in a Teams channel saying, hey, Dalil just signed his contract. Please go do A, B, and C. Or, hey, Dalil just signed the contract. Please click this link to review the subsequent document. So there's a lot that we can do by leveraging the Teams platform, whether it's related to sending out notifications, sending out reminders, centralizing document to one location, and kind of segmenting things to be able to have a centralized view of the documents that you need the documents and data that you need at any given time. It also can be used as a phone system, so voice over IP. Microsoft Teams has the functionality to do that, and it also has the ability to securely collect documents from external parties. So you have the ability to send the link that will allow people to upload files into the document repository. I mentioned Microsoft Power Platform. So this is a suite of tools, four on the screen that you can see here, that lives under the Microsoft Power Platform. These are the advanced tools that we use for our clients. They're considered low code, no code tools. So instead of the traditional software development process, these allow you to be able to quickly and more cost effectively develop apps. There is some technical know-how around some of these applications, but if you're tech savvy, you're able to quickly sign up for a Power Automate license and start building workflows more or less out of the box. The four core ones here are Power Apps. So Power Apps gives us the ability to create a custom app. So if we wanted to, once again, aggregate data from multiple systems, centralize it to one location, and in that location have a team member internally interact with the data in that system, we would leverage Power Apps to do that. Power Pages gives us the ability to create external facing websites. So one thing that we could do with Power Pages is if you want your clients to know exactly where their file or where their file is at any given time, we can track statuses and display that information to them. We can also display other external facing information that we would want to clients directly with the Power Pages. Power Automate. So when I talk about workflow automation, that's what we use internally to build a lot of the automations that we deliver to our clients. And that's the facilitation of data between various apps. I mentioned Power BI a little bit earlier. So that's a data and reporting and visualization tool. So it allows us to be able to create dashboards, to create views based off of data that you want to slice and dice, so you can make better business decisions. So if you want to say, hey, which of my advisors are generating the most revenue, or which of my advisors has the most workload, and how is that workload split up between my different service offerings, we can capture all of that data, put it into a Power BI report, and then you're able to slice and dice it accordingly. So then that lets you make better decisions as it relates to how you want to utilize your advisors, how you want to utilize your staff, maybe service offerings to really focus on. Any thoughts or questions related to the Microsoft ecosystem as a whole, or is anyone using Power Platform today? Feel free to drop any comments in the chat. I'll go on. So we're at the slide with the color. So how often are you using Microsoft's Copilot? Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Or is it, wait, what is Copilot? This is awesome. We have a lot of, love the Power Platform. That's great. Amazing. So we're getting a lot of responses on people leveraging Microsoft's Copilot, which is phenomenal. Copilot daily using Power Platform. That's amazing. That's awesome. So we have a very tech savvy forward group here today, which is exciting. And it's really exciting to see people embracing the Microsoft Copilot tool. So it sounds like you're already using it, but I'll give the high-level overview. What is Microsoft Copilot? It's essentially AI that lives in your Microsoft 365 environment. It goes across all of the different apps. I'll talk about some simple but effective use cases a little bit later. The nice thing, what Microsoft Copilot is, any data within your Microsoft ecosystem, it's able to use that to help you create, summarize, analyze, and automate your daily work tool. So it goes across your work tools and allows you to be able to get those cost savings. So whether you're looking to create a new document, summarize, get a summary of meeting notes, analyze certain things, Copilot gives you the flexibility to do that. The one big thing is it keeps your data within your Microsoft environment. So we talked about, I know there were some concerns around compliance. with Microsoft Copilot, it's a Microsoft tool. So once again, when we talk about the ecosystem, that's one of the advantages of leveraging Copilot on the AI side of things is it's contained to within your Microsoft ecosystem. Obviously, there will be some training. So as you expose it and open it up to other team members across the firm, that's where training and best practices really kick in and kind of letting people know the difference between Microsoft's Copilot Work versus Web, because there's two different toggles within Copilot itself. The work version is the items that sourcing data within your environment and lives within your environment. The web version is the one that is similar to like a chat GPT, if you will, that it goes, crawls the web, so on and so forth. So you want to be mindful about things related to what you're putting in Copilot. And what we're doing is we're just providing training to our clients across their firms to help educate them on best practices, compliance concerns and considerations across the board with leveraging Copilot. The other thing that is awesome is Microsoft Copilot Studio. So when we talk about, hey, if you wanted to build a custom agent to solve your specific use case, you can certainly do that. So we're doing some cool things with Copilot Studio early on in the process, but helping firms be able to leverage it to just be more efficient with their marketing effort, be more efficient with their operations effort. If you think about it, you can leverage Microsoft Copilot Studio as like an FAQ option. So if you have a new advisor, a new teammate onboarding into your firm, you can have an agent set up to where it knows, hey, for new hires, these are the common questions that get asked. So you want to preload that into an agent. And then if they ask the question, then it's able to provide them a response in real time versus them having to go to someone and ask them that question or dig through information to get the answer they need. The other thing that we can do as well too is as they ask those questions, we can stay ahead. And if the agent doesn't know the answer to it, we can create a mechanism to be able to capture that question and then go back and retrain the agent to then take that question into consideration, because obviously if someone's asking it, it may be something that we would want to train the agent to know the response for specifically. So there's a lot that we can do with Microsoft Copilot. It is powerful. It is evolving very, very rapidly. Even one of the things that we've talked with other clients about is generating a Copilot newsletter. If you're not signed up for some of the Microsoft newsletters, I certainly recommend doing that if you want it to stay up to date on features, functionalities, and some educational content that they put out as well too. I'll be able to share this presentation with you guys as well. So there are some useful links here that I put at the bottom of this specific slide. But I love the fact that a lot of people in here are already leveraging Microsoft Copilot, which is great. So what are some ways that you can leverage Copilot? Obviously, there's a lot of different use cases for this presentation. I kept it pretty simple and straightforward, to be quite honest, and I'm going to cover a few different entry points of ways that you can leverage Copilot. So this is a really good one that's helpful. So the entry point for this is within Microsoft Teams. So if you were to go in Microsoft Teams, launch Copilot, and you want to prompt it, and the prompt would be, hey, what is the latest from, in this case, Dalil, or I can say Joe or Stephanie or Susan or whoever it may be. I can enter that prompt into Copilot, and then the output that it would give me is a summarized view of all the emails, chats, meeting, and files shared by that person. And it does it based off of a variety of factors, but it takes my question into consideration and says, what is the latest from this person? Let me think about it from an urgency standpoint. Are there timelines associated with it? What's the relevancy associated with it? And then it will give me an actual bulleted list, segmented based off of those different types. So it'll say emails, it'll have a bulleted list of a handful of emails. It'll say chats, it'll have a bulleted list summarizing some of the things that me and Dalil talked about in a chat, so on and so forth. And that makes it really nice because I can quickly get up to speed to say, what was it that I was talking with Dalil about? Let me go and prompt Microsoft Teams and see if it reminds me, or if I had forgotten something, it will prompt me to remember, oh yeah, I do owe Dalil this specific thing, or Dalil sent this email 3 days ago and I didn't respond. So instead of having to go to multiple different places to figure out what you owe to who, you could use a prompt like this within Microsoft Teams to get a snapshot view across all of those different items for that specific team member. Another way that you could use Microsoft's Copilot is a list of emails that need responses. I guess if show of hands, I'm sure a lot of us have cluttered inboxes, myself included. So keeping up with that and trying to stay up to date with things can sometimes be a challenge. So this one I personally use periodically, and it just helps me be able to quickly get a sense of any emails that I haven't responded to that I should. It does a pretty good job with this in terms of showing me things that are not only relevant but timely. So if I missed a response for a net new lead, a lot of times I get introductions to people, and so it typically puts that in the top 5. So if, let's assume Joe introduced me to Susan, then it would show that email as part of the output, and then it would remind me of, oh, I did miss an introduction that I got for a referral. So that makes it nicer because it allows me to, instead of doing a lot of email inbox cleanup at one specific time, I can quickly get up to speed and see what's on that list that I might have missed, or that could have fallen through the cracks that I did not follow up to, that could be urgent, to be quite frank. So those are some, this is one that I use, like I mentioned, on a weekly basis to be able to get up to speed on things. The next one is the entry point would be Microsoft Word. So in Word, you can do a bunch of different things. You create templates as well too. But if you want it to get a recap of a document, if you have Word open, you launch Copilot. From there, you can say, give me a document recap. Then it nicely will summarize the document's main points based off of what's in it. And this is really nice if you have very long document. So if you get like some sort of paper or some sort of article that you're reviewing and you want to synthesize the information pretty quickly, I use it in this way. So I'll just either take it out of a PDF, put it in Word, or I might copy and paste some things over and put it into a Word document, and then I'll say, hey, just give me a recap of this specific thing, and then it'll quickly give me a summary with bulleted lists of the key points related to that content on this specific document. So that just saves time from having to read through the whole thing when there's only a handful of things that you're looking to get out of the document. It also gives you some flexibility to decide, like, hey, do I need to then go deeper? So based off the bulleted list that it gives you, you can decide, oh, that's something that I want to explore. So let me go to that section in the document and thoroughly review it, because there may be some things that I want to better understand. Just checking the chat here. Love that Copilot. Yep, that's good. I'll now to do this from emails, which is overwhelming. Okay, someone said yes. Outlook now will give you a to-do list from emails, which is helpful. So that's great too. And then I'll just check the Q&A. So someone had asked the question, how do we know what is safe to include in AI prompts? My suggestion is to leave any client sensitive data out of the prompts, or either rename them within the work version. And I always preface this with consult a lawyer, or consult someone that could provide actual advice. But what I would say is any client specific data you can keep out to be on the safe side. So if there's something that you're uncertain that you want to share with the Copilot, then don't share it. Or you could also redact sensitive information. So you can change the names, you can change the company name, you can redact any sensitive information that may be net specific. Obviously, probably don't want to include any like social security numbers or anything along those lines within Copilot, but basic things, maybe like contract details might be boilerplate, for example. So just be mindful. Like I said, that's usually a training exercise depending on how you're using the Copilot and which one you're using. So obviously the web one, you want to be highly sensitive to what you put in that, versus the work one, it's accessing the data within your Microsoft environment. So this slide, So yes, so someone asked the question, we have business standard, it appears to be utilizing the web for its results. Yeah, so um, you would need a Copilot license. That's something that we could look at as well too. So if you want to reach out to me, we could look at that, but you would need a Copilot license to access some of these features. So our environment has a fully paid Copilot license. I know there was and they're making updates so fast around the different options that are there. There is a free version that you can sign up for, from what I remember, but it doesn't have all of the features and functionality. So some of the things that I may be sharing here on the screen are based off of a paid version of Copilot, which they did update their pricing model to allow you. I could share the link with you as well too for Copilot, but they did update the pricing model. There's a free version and there's obviously the paid version, which gets you all the features and functionality. So anything I'm sharing is probably could or could not be part of the free version, but more likely any advanced features will be part of the paid version for sure. This came from Microsoft's site. So the screenshot that you see here, they're doing a lot of educational content around how you can leverage Copilot. So there's this Copilot prompt gallery that talks about some other ways you can leverage Copilot across your Microsoft environment. You can see the entry points and outputs are a little bit different. So creating a presentation, creating an agenda, so a little bit different. Tell me when I was mentioned. So you can click on this link at the bottom called Copilot Prompt Gallery. And if you have, I believe you need a Copilot license. If you click on that, it'll launch you to this web page, and then it may have you log in if you click on one of these icons, because what it'll do is it'll help you begin that specific prompt. So if you were to click on the draft and email box, it'll pull up a pop-up and try to engage you to start that prompt in Copilot. The other thing that's helpful, it's another agent that Microsoft has as well too, which is free, and the link is right here at the bottom, is Prompt Coach. So obviously with AI, the ability to interact with it appropriately determines how efficient it makes your life and how well it gives you the results you're looking for. So what Prompt Coach does is an add-on that allows you to be able to work out what prompts work the best for you. So something to look into. I've been playing around with that one a little bit more recently as well too. Okay, some other items to consider as well too. So AI meeting notes and recap. So I know some of our clients use a variety of meeting note takers. One that's out there is Microsoft Team has the capability to capture meeting notes and action items leveraging AI. So you can see in the screenshot on the right hand side, it says suggested notes and suggested tasks. What it does is once you record the meeting, it takes the transcription for the meeting, creates the meeting notes, and also pulls out the associated action items with that meeting. The really nice thing about that is, once again, living in the big mansion is those meeting notes, those action item lists, everything lives within Microsoft Teams. So you can see here, this view or this screenshot is within your Microsoft Teams environment. So if I wanted to, for example, go back and look at the meeting recording for this, what I can do is go to my calendar, expand the calendar event. It'll have the recap option there, and it will take me directly to it. So it's not, I don't have to go and hunt down, oh, which meeting that I have, where are the meeting notes. Everything is centralized to Microsoft Teams, which I'm in every day. So it's one, I'm already logged in. I already have it open on my computer. So it's always available, which makes it easier to centralize, once again, all of your information into one app versus across different ones. So that's the really nice thing about it. It works really well. We've been using it for quite a while in terms of being able to do our meeting notes and recap, and I love it. It's one of the best features I think that's out there. Another cool thing that it does as well too, if you have Teams Premium, is it gives you a speaker coach. So if I'm on meetings, for example, I have a tendency to talk really fast, and so the other people will not be able to see it, but the speaker coach will give me a prompt saying, hey, slow down your pitch, you're talking too fast, which is very helpful. This is another cool AI tool. So obviously you receive a lot of documents from your client. So we can build, so Microsoft has the capability to for you to train models, and those models are trained to be able to parse data out of documents, and we can use workflow automation to route it to different systems. So for example, let's say you receive a lot of 1099s for some of your clients and you do tax prep, then what we could do is if you upload the 1099 to the AI solution, it can go in, read the 1099, pull out the key data points that you want to pull out, maybe the tax ID, the name, things of that nature, and automatically put it into a document, put it into a system. So it makes it easier for data to get pulled out of a document and moved to another location without having to manually do that. Thank you. I know someone has to jump. Thank you for joining us. I will be sharing the presentation. The meeting recording may not be shared, but I'll definitely be sharing the meeting presentation for sure. So someone had one more question. So does it say for AI to process information in 1099 and other tax documents? So from what we've seen, it's all about, like I said, making sure you have the proper controls in place within your Microsoft ecosystem. But if you're storing your documents in the Microsoft environment, it already has access to it. So it's just a matter of ensuring that the right people within the environment that need to have access only have access to it. Okay, got another question for you guys. So what workflow automation tool are you using the most? We tend to see a lot of firms are leveraging workflows within the CRM. If you are doing that, please specify which CRM you're using. I know Redtail is a big one, Wealthbox is another. Zapier is also common as well too. We are big proponents of Power Automate. Hubly is a popular one that I've seen for workflow automation. Okay, I see some Salesforce, Redtail, HubSpot. Awesome. Anyone on Wealthbox by chance? I see one Redtail. I see a couple Salesforce. I'll take that as a no. Here's a few, once again, try to keep it more tangible. So in terms of using workflow automations, we see this use case all the time. So a new lead comes in, you have a listing on XY, PN, NAPFA, fee only. You typically get a lead email saying, hi, Dalil just filled out this form. In that email, it has basic information for Dalil. So what we can do, that will then trigger our ability to fire off a workflow automation. So in this use case, an email comes in from one of these sources. It typically comes in a standard format. So the subject as well as the email body is standardized. So what that allows us to do is then know where key pieces of information are going to be. So email comes in, we trigger a workflow automation. That workflow automation then completes a series of actions. It can go into your CRM. In this case, I'm just using Redtail as an example. It can do it in Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever CRM you're using. We can create a new record for that specific lead that came in. If they already exist, then we can update a specific field on that contact record. If you are leveraging workflows within your CRM, we can say, oh, new lead workflow, let's trigger that. So we can prompt the CRM to trigger the new prospect workflows. It'll then fire those off. It'll also be able to create a customized email reply to the client, letting them know to fill out the fact finder. So hi, Dalil, thank you for filling out the form. Please go and complete our fact finder form. We could also in that email, if we want to, include the ability for them to schedule a time via Calendly or whatever scheduling automation software that you're using. And then what we can also do is send a notification to the internal staff member. So I was talking about Teams earlier. So once this triggers, we can then notify the sales team, hey, Dalil just completed an inquiry. Make sure you go do A, B, and C once again. So all these series of steps can happen just based off of a simple email that comes in through a lead source. So you can see there it's ensuring, the biggest thing is ensuring that you're not missing out on leads. You're following up timely, and those follow-ups are customized based off the information that you're receiving from the lead. And also you're able to track it very instantaneously into the CRM so you don't lose track of it as your day moves on. And it does it in real time, which is nice too. This is another effective workflow automation that we see all the time. We're very big proponents on leveraging online forms. There's a lot of online forms tools out there. Jot forms, Precise FB, type forms, Microsoft forms, you name it. There's a bunch of them out there. But the nice thing about that is it allows you to collect data in a structured form. And once that data is collected, we once again can leverage workflow automation to trigger. So someone fills out a form, they hit submit. As soon as they hit submit, we can trigger the workflow automation to kick off. Let's say they are providing specific files on that form, then what we can do is not only update the CRM or create a new record, we can create a new folder in your document repository. So if I'm going through your onboarding process, I fill out a form, the form has an attachment, I provide my attachments there. I know what that attachment would be because of the form. So it might be like my license or some sort of document that I'm sharing based off of my financials. I can easily be able to rename that document based off of where in the form it's submitted and automatically store it into the document repository. And the nice thing about that is if there's no folder for it to live, we can know, hey, Dalil submitted this form. So create a new folder for Dalil. If it doesn't exist, then take those documents and put it into that location specifically. So once again, being able to process documents a lot quicker so things are not falling through the cracks, but also so you're not having to go download the attachments, rename the attachments, create a folder, drag the files from one location into the folder. This is all happening systematically through the power of workflow automation and through the power of coupling online forms with workflow automation and where you want everything to live at the end of the day. So the last one I'll talk about that's pretty effective. Some of these are out of the box as well too, but if you are using a scheduling automation tool, hopefully everyone is, like Calendly, Acuity, Reminders, the ability to easily capture that into the CRM is one thing, but we can start drafting documents that you would use to show up for the meeting. So if someone books a time and you know it's a current client, then you have a standard meeting agenda for clients that you're servicing today. You can create a draft agenda for that specific person and you can send it to the advisor, to the CSA internally saying, hey, Dalil just booked the time. Here's a pre-populated agenda for his meeting. So then that way, any items you need to go gather, you can do that. And it's already created the document for you. It's already sent out a notification letting you know that Dalil booked the time. And it's already pre-populating data that you would have to go track down, such as the meeting agenda that could be standard and you can customize it as you need to. But the thing that it does is it gives you a place to start from versus having to start from scratch. So awesome. I'll see we have, so there's looks like a question or a comment in the chat. We have this, so we have this with a lead magnet. Email comes in with info and automation pools. Oh, awesome. So someone is using that as part of the workflow automation. Great to see that. So, and then I'll just check the chat real quick. Can you use data extraction to put data into holistic plan? So any system that has APIs, we can certainly pull data in to the system. So it's just a matter of the functionality and having access to be able to push data in. But yes, can certainly do that if there's API access related to that system. And our delivery team would know the answer to that. I'm certainly happy to follow up with you after the call as well too. I don't have the list in front of me, but it'll be dependent on the API access. But any system that gives us the ability to do that, we can certainly push or pull data out depending on the data points it gives us access to do so. So another question for you guys. So what would your team focus on if repetitive tasks disappeared? Be stronger client relationships, improving client experience, launching new services, driving business growth. Got all the above. That's good. I'll have to include that in my next webinar. So these are some customer success stories that I'll talk about that we've deployed for clients, and they're seeing some great results as these have been rolled out. So the first one, I kind of talk about this one again. I mentioned it in the earlier workflow automation, but the ability to streamline the data collection, that's the key component that we see takes quite a bit of time. And doing it in a structured way is really important as well too. And when I say structured, that's where those online forms really come into play, because if not, what ends up happening is the data collection process is very fragmented. So you'll start collecting it over the phone, you'll collect it via email, you collect it via some other chat mechanism. And so what we really encourage our clients to do is leverage these online forms, because what it allows them to do is structure the way that you're collecting the information, so then we can leverage the workflow automation. So in this case, we created a mechanism using the forms for different client types. And based off of that, we're also able to set up field validations in the form to ensure the right data is captured. So if it is a phone number, we want to make sure the syntax is properly documented. If there's a conditional logic, so like if they say, yes, we have a dependent, then we want to ensure that we're capturing the dependent information. So we can add a lot of that validation and functionality by leveraging forms as a result of that to ensure we have the right data. And then, as I mentioned, the processing becomes it was automated because of result of that. So once the form is submitted, then the processing of the data and documents is fully automated. And so you can see here, requesting data was easier. So you just send out the link to the client. They're able to provide the information you need, all of the information. So another key result as well too is the limit. It reduces the amount of times, or hopefully eliminates the amount of times that you have to pick up and put down a file because you don't have all of the information you need. So being able to gather all the data you need up front to get the client file to the next milestone is critical, and this solution allowed them to do that. And then once again, file stored in the central location. So we're using workflow automation, so we know, hey, anytime this form is submitted, then put it into the actual client's folder. So we know anytime we're looking for documents related to that client, we just navigate to this location and we're able to easily access it. Centralized lead management. So we worked with a firm. They had a high volume of leads. The challenge was the leads was coming from a variety of different sources. There was no easy way for the team that was supporting the sales activities to track and manage the leads appropriately. So in this case, what we were able to do is leverage Power Apps and build a custom solution that aligned with their processes and their business rules. And from there, what we were able to do, no matter where the lead source was coming in from, we accounted for that through the solution. We were able to centralize all of the lead data and tag it accordingly based off of where it came from, because we knew where the source was coming from depending on how it got into the system. And that also allowed us to create a central location for the team members to add additional lead details that weren't captured as part of the initial inquiry that the prospect would fill out. And so what that would do is allow us to keep the CRM data clean, because what they would do is process all of the lead data across all of the sources, add the additional lead details that they wanted to in this custom app, and then there was a button that integrated with the CRM that we set up for them that they would then push once they knew the data was clean. So they were able to capture everything that they wanted and push it accordingly right into the CRM with all of the fields that were required. You can see here one place to see and manage every lead, regardless of the lead source. Data integrity is a big thing, so ensuring all of the data is clean within the CRM. And then the other thing I was able to do is easier to spot engaged leads. So they were doing reoccurring events, so they know, hey, Dalil showed up to one event 3 times. Okay, he's highly interested, so we should target our efforts there a little bit more accordingly. And then this one is one-click client scheduling. So this was all around admin spending a lot of time going back and forth to figure out who is the right team to schedule a client meeting with. This is one of the use cases where we expand it an out-of-the-box tool to match the firm needs. And so in this one, what we were able to do was to automatically look up who was the right team member based off the client that was calling in, create a unique scheduling link that incorporated that team, and allow the admin to easily click on it and schedule a meeting. So the admin didn't have to go back and forth between systems, and it made the process of scheduling the meetings a lot easier. And it also reduced the amount of steps that were required in the process. And the last one I'll go through is simplified asset allocation. So in this use case, the advisors were having to manually click into each client record to check if the actual asset allocation matched the client's targeted allocation. So what we were able to do is push data into a central system, calculate what the actuals versus the target were, show that on a snapshot view so they didn't have to click in and out of every single client record at this point. They are also able to easily, once again, add additional data points that would help them be able to make decisions faster. And then this one was really cool because we were able to send automated alerts that notified the advisors internally, and then also customized messages that would alert the clients directly of, hey, if your variance was between this, then we knew these were the set of steps that we needed to take, so we could automate that process of an email that was going out. So you can see here, snapshot view of the actual versus target. A lot of time saved between the syncing of data between systems, and then the more important thing is being able to quickly get alerts and emails sent out. I know we're cutting it close on time, so the last question I'll ask is, where would you rank your firm's automation today? So if you want to drop that in the chat, I'll look to see if there's any other questions. Yes, so I will be sharing out the deck today, or I will be sharing out the deck after this meeting. So you may get it today, it may be tomorrow, but I certainly will be sharing it. So awesome. Well, I hope this was valuable. So thank you everyone for joining us today. One of the things that we're offering, so anyone that attended the meeting today, you will get a free efficiency audit. So one of the things that we do is we work with clients to quickly be able to determine, hey, how are you doing from an efficiency standpoint? What are some quick wins? How is it looking across your tech stack? And what are some ways that we can streamline how your team works? So if you're interested in signing up for that free efficiency audit, be sure to capture this link here. So it's bit.ly/Rooks audit. So if you want to book a time, it'll be with me. Just make sure you book it within the 24-hour period, because we do want to be mindful of making sure we get these on the calendar accordingly. So hopefully this was valuable and a good use of your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is my contact information as well too, and be sure to add me on LinkedIn.